Morning. Parshas Akev, we talk about the manna, which is bread that didn't come from the earth, it fell from heaven. How that's expressive of something that just falls down in your lap. Expressing the next stage of humanity as we finally enter into the world of reward that is anticipated to unfold rather than the chaos that you see on the news. Manna is a symbol of something that is independent of your ability, your effort to entangle yourself with the world and try and make sense of it. There's no birurim. It's not a conflict when it falls from heaven. Welcome. Hey, Menachem. This mimer that I'm learning with you now, is a beautiful tribute and explanation for the mitzvah to thank Hashem in V'achalta v'savata. You will eat and be sated uvarachta and bless. So we have a mitzvah from the Torah to thank Hashem for all the good, especially when it comes to filling our bellies, something really personal. The way that we do that, the savata, I can't get no satisfaction, when you could actually get your satisfaction, Jagger and crew, when it actually goes easy and it's blessed. When you say that you blessed, because it leads to more blessings in your life. When you could experience the meaning behind consuming, as we do here, eating from either the manna or bread from the earth, and how we get nourished in two different ways. One, we're fed, like it says, a nursing, a wet nurse, Ayman Yenek. There's a type of pampering that is the promise of manna, man. And there's a code in its order that the first blessing Moshe instilled, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, he composed the liturgy of the grace after meals. And the first one starts with Baruch Atah Hashem. It's about Baruch is a gift from above. It's a gift. When you don't have to rectify anymore. It's above. That's why there was no psilas, there was no waste when you ate manna. It was a gift from above that's not intended to have to do with anything that has to do with refining or rectifying or sifting. So the satisfaction is when it's gifted like that. So Moshe Rabbeinu, in recognizing that going into the land, which is something that he longed to do, he sort of expressed himself greatest on the mountaintops in the wilderness, but he never quite made it into the land, which is meant to be settled and blossom from there. So you enter a world of birurim, you have to rectify, you have to encounter food. And in the desert, Moshe represented this otherworldly force that precedes. It's like a preparation to go into the land. You have to have a Moshe Rabbeinu that gives you a state of awe, because he is totally up there in the mountain and intended to be someone that knew he had the inability to articulate his world to the people, but he did, because the 5 books of Moses are attributed to him. He became the author of the Torah because Vanechi eya impicha. God promises, I will be in with your voice, with your mouth. When that is a type of inspiration that's characteristic of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, and everyone has a Moses within that is intended to be lit up individually and collectively as a nation in the promise of the unfolding redemption. So I want to learn this entire mimer. I want to go through every word of it with you because it brings in Yosef Tzaddik, because the second bracha, which was established by Yeshua, who took the Jewish people into the land, the second blessing in the grace after meals is authored by Joshua, who went into the earth, and it's expressive of an earlier hero, Yosef Tzaddik, specifically Yosef. Why not another tzaddik? Because Yosef is known as Tzaddik Yesod Olam. He represents the Yesod, the ability to, through the bris, the Makam HaBris is in the Yesod, the place for the place of circumcision is the place where we have like an embedded marking us as devoted to Hashem, that we're prepared to enter the earthiness of the world, but be a cut above and recognize that the chumrius, the extra, is not intended, because it's intended to be a conduit that connects two things. The aside is the ability to communicate and connect a heavenly thing. Moshe thought he couldn't do that, he couldn't connect, but he was invigorated with this devotion to Torah that led to the ability to Hashem to speak through him. When Hashem speaking through him, it didn't matter that he had a stutter or a lisp. It didn't matter, because he was already animated. The truth is, after the giving of the Torah, Moshe's stutter was corrected, but that's expressive of the fact that at that time he was devoted to teaching Torah. When he had that devotion, that's Anechi Eya Impicha. God will be with his voice. He will speak through him, and it's a type of inspiration that's, you would think it's reserved for only the Moshe Rabbeinus of us, but it's intended to serve as a model of your soul's journey and through history and collectively as well. So it's an important, the order here is that there's an intended, sated, blessed approach that's intended. Moshe Rabbeinu had that. He was this total, beyond a chariot. He's the inner aspect of the man that sits upon the throne. Moshe within, Da'as, presence, and Yaakov is the beauty, the outwardness, where it's all shines through, as the Zohar describes. So I want to learn this mimer with you. And in terms of Avodas Hashem, we will see how this represents Ava Rabba. It's expressed in Ava Rabba, Re'usa Deliba, it's called in Kabbalah, the depths of the heart, the will of the heart, when it's really what really matters to the heart. That this, it describes here that the soul from retaining this, the soul flies out from the Chei HaElamim, the source of all life, as the Zohar describes. So v'chalta uvarachta es, you should bless the es, which is Malchus. The lowest level has to be blessed so that the level of Sevev, the preceding, the transcendent aspect, is revealed and experienced in the lowest of all realms, the realm of Malchus, the realm of the Yesh, the part of this, the Nefesh that says I. That is intended, the order here, that Moshe Rabbeinu establishes the first blessing, representing the man that he was, in virtue of Moshe Rabbeinu, we had manna. That empowers even the level of Yeshua, which is the blessing that ends in Al Ha'aretz Val Hamazin, the earth and its produce. You thank Hashem for there, not that bread from heaven that was in the first blessing, but the blessing of the earth. That the same way that there is a type of inspiration that is otherworldly, like this manna that fell from heaven, that is intended to also, and primarily actually, be experienced in the earthiness itself and its produce, the way we relate to, the way we're sustained by that world. Okay, that's my introduction. I want to do the whole thing. We could maybe take a few days. Where are you going anyways? So it draws at length on the text, the liturgy of the grace after meals, the Birchas HaMazon. So just know that it's always quoting that. This is the words in the Torah. It says you should, in Parshas Eikev, you will eat and be sated and bless. And our sages teach in Gemara and Brachos, it says that the bracha Hazan es hakel, we end the first blessing with Hazan, which we said is authored by Moshe. Al haaretz zu birchas haaretz hateiva zu b'nei Yerushalayim. Uparich sham l'Rabbi de Amar ein chaismim b'shtayim mima shechaismim al haaretz v'al hamazon mishane eretz den mafka mazon. There is this discussion there in the Gemara that discusses where you thank Hashem for Hazanas Akel, to providing, before you mention the earth, or is it separate or is it joined? So it ends up being two blessings. But this all had to be determined and debated. How we know this? How do you have the Sidurim that are so exact to say that they're authored by Moshe Rabbeinu? You need a lot of sages to really make sure they get every single word right. So the Alter Rebbe went through 60 versions of the Siddur before he came up with his. And at first glance, why would you have to mention mazon, sustenance, at all in the blessing of the earth? Tahalak er mazon shayach lebirchas hazan. That when we speak about sustenance, it's different than the land. You have land, but the sustenance of it, if we mention that in the first blessing, when we say Hazana Zakil, God provides for everything, you would think you'd mention the land that it grows upon also. So why did they separate it? So the explanation is this. Earlier in the discussion in the Gemara, it speaks about Moshe, who established the blessing of Hazana Sakil, that Hashem provides for everyone without mentioning the earth there, because remember, he was associated with the man. Joshua was the leader who led the Jewish people into the land in actuality, the place where they're going to be having a harvest, etc. And he therefore established the saying of the blessing associated with the earth, the place where the produce comes from, the zan. We didn't have it just given to us. We had to work the land. So Joshua establishes that blessing. It's a separate thing. Welcome, Joel. Kevan sheniknisu la'aretz. That's when they entered the land. Vehiksha Rashba Sham Huba Beis Yosef V'Akaim Lamasamak Debirchas Elu Deraisa Ninu. So how could this be a Talmudic debate when this is a matter of Torah? We have to get it right and there's not a rabbinic debate about it. This is something that's explicit in the Torah. The Yeshleimar de Matbeya hu shetivai. So that has to do. The mitzvah here is the way it's intended to be fulfilled. That is up to rabbinic discussion and tradition. Whereas the actual fact of doing it, that is from the Torah. Therefore, since we're starting with the first blessing, which attributed to Moshe, in virtue of a time when we ate primarily manna, which gives the precedence to that. Therefore, it's also mentioned the idea of sustaining us. It is associated with earth, because you were eating either from a gift from heaven or from the working the land. But in either way, we are getting nourished. So in other words, the order is intended to empower the next stage, to have the same boundless quality and clarity above refinement. When you reach a world, when the Rebbe says the final rectifications have been done, how are you seeing manna on your table? Welcome. How do you see it on your table? Are you getting that? The Rebbe suggested that we're in the time of the reward, and look at the chaos in the world. How are we supposed to do this? You know the answer if you've been listening to my classes. It usually has to do with the state of your heart or your soul expressed through prayer, tefillah. This mimer here actually takes it more to the realm of Torah, but very inspired Torah that is at the level of Keser. So Keser is the level of the will that is revealed through wisdom, but it precedes wisdom. So Keser is always a step over everything, the crown that sits on the head. It is drawn through, so you have this crown, this inspired state, when Anechi Eyayim Picho, when God is with our voice, and even the stutterer who cannot express his depth, Moshe Rabbeinu, is speaking Hashem's words in that inspired state. That is something that's intended to firstly be recognized and therefore take precedence in our mitzvah to say grace after meals, to thank Hashem for our food, because it's the model whereby when we talk about the sustenance we get through working the earth, being involved with the earth, by rectifying the earth and encountering it as some kind of obstacle or some type of adversary, is intended to be blessed with the same type of overt heavenly gift as the manna in the desert. Maybe that's a good just cliffhanger for tomorrow. Have a great day.